Hello, my name is Jack Merrigan and I attend Stuart Hall High School, which is a school of the Sacred Heart, and this is my Goal video project. In the tradition of the schools of the Sacred Heart, students are taught of how the network of the Sacred Heart schools came about. We are taught that the woman that started the schools of the Sacred Heart is Madeleine Sophie Barra. Sophie wanted to make sure she could help the lives of all children by offering them the chance to receive an education. Thus, Sophie, along with other sisters, started a network of schools known as the Schools of the Sacred Heart. Due to the work of Sophie, the Schools of the Sacred Heart have been able to reach 6 of the 7 continents of the world. However, this large network would have been impossible if it was not for Rose Philippine Duchenne. Philippine dreamed of traveling to America and serving the Native American people, so she did just that. In the year 1818, Philippine said her goodbyes to Madeleine Sophie Barra, who she was very good friends with, and set out to America. Philippine did eventually make it to America and started a school in Missouri. Philippine spent the rest of her life in Missouri and serving the Native American people. Thanks to Philippine's work, many other sisters were inspired to expand the schools of the Sacred Heart all over the world. Stuart Hall High School is one of those schools of the Sacred Heart. The school is named after one of the most impactful sisters of the Sacred Heart, Janet Erskine Stuart. Stuart became Supreme General of the Society of the Sacred Heart, which is the highest position anyone can be appointed to, 3 years before her death. Unlike other Sacred Heart schools, Stuart Hall High School is the only Sacred Heart school that is all boys. Stuart Hall may not be the most traditional school of the Sacred Heart, but we do follow many of the traditions. One tradition that Stuart Hall does quite well is instilling the 5 goals of the Sacred Heart onto their students. The sisters that created the Schools of the Sacred Heart put emphasis on these goals because the sisters believe the goals would help the students grow and help the community as a whole. Out of the 5 goals, I see myself gravitate towards Goal 3 the most, which states that the Schools of the Sacred Heart commit themselves to educate to a social awareness which impels to action. With every goal, there is a set of criteria that follows it. 2 pieces of Goal 3's criteria I find most resonate with me are: the school is linked in a reciprocal manner with ministries among people who are poor, marginalized, and suffering from injustice. And in our multicultural world, the school prepares and inspires students to be active, informed, and responsible citizens locally, nationally, and globally. Both of these pieces of criteria from Goal 3 are what comes to mind for me when I think of Goal 3. I believe that Goal 3 is a call for all students to help those less fortunate than themselves, and a call for teachers and older students to help illustrate to younger students the importance of serving the community and serving others. The time when I felt most connected to Goal 3 is my experience in the Mexico Service Immersion program. My time in Mexico allowed me to see how privileged I am to live in the United States. The struggles and hardships I saw during my time in Mexico made me aware of how other people have drastically different lives than myself in other countries. Being aware of these different lifestyles had made me realize the importance of Goal 3 and made me want to help others more. The experience that moved me the most during my time in Mexico is when I worked in the fields harvesting wheat during the day and staying with the family during the night. My fellow volunteers and I spent a full 2 days harvesting the wheat because the wheat that we harvested went to the villagers we were staying with, villagers who had very little access to food at the time. The volunteers and I did this because, as Pope John XXIII states, he has the right to bodily integrity and to the means necessary for the proper development of life, particularly food, clothing, shelter, medical care, rest, and finally, the necessary social services. By having the access to wheat, the villagers' quality of life improved drastically. However, if the villagers did not get the wheat that we harvested, that would lead to the villagers to surely suffer from some level of starvation, which is unacceptable because, as William Byron states, human life at any stage of development and decline is precious and therefore worthy of protection and respect. Because I saw this sacredness then, I know that if we did not give the villagers that wheat, it would have gone against Byron's message. After my time in Mexico, I started to become more and more involved with service by going to things like the Lafayette Park cleanup, volunteering at the SPCA, and other service events that help my community and others.